On this week's episode of A Dryer Dose of Disney, Jared talks about the EPCOT Food and Wine Festival.
Welcome to this week's episode of A Dryer Dose of Disney. I'm your host, Jared Dryer, and today we are on episode number 3 of 4, where we are talking about the festivals at EPCOT. And specifically today, we will be talking about the Food and Wine Festival at EPCOT, which happens about every July through the beginning of November out at EPCOT, which is an awesome festival if you've never been there. In fact, it's probably the most popular festival that EPCOT has all year out of their 4 festivals. And if you've not been listening to our other episodes, I'm going to give you some pointers and some tips for the overall festival atmosphere and what's out there. But before we dive into it, I do want to ask, wherever you're listening to us, if you're on YouTube or on a podcast format, go ahead and click that pause button for just a moment and go find that subscribe button and click subscribe. So that way you're going to get these tips and tricks in your inbox each and every single week, as we do publish weekly on Tuesdays. And then if you found any tips or tricks that saved you time or money, we do ask for your support over at Patreon. You can find the link down in our podcast description below. And our supporters at Patreon get lots of cool perks, but even a little subscription like $5 a month helps this podcast keep going and really helps these tips and tricks stay out there on the airwaves so that you guys can consume them each and every single week. We want to thank our subscribers that are already out there. You guys are the reason that we do this. So thank you very much. So back to EPCOT. EPCOT is probably my favorite park. If you guys haven't heard my other episodes, I talk a lot about that. And that's because I am a foodie and so is my wife. And we absolutely love all the different Disney foods and treats that are out there. And we love trying new restaurants. We love trying new foods. And we really enjoy the atmosphere over at EPCOT. Not to mention, EPCOT's got some fun rides, especially now with Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, and they're going to be opening up more in the future as well with the new Moana Journey of Water experience. That'll be a lot of fun, though that's probably not a ride. I believe that's a walkthrough, but a lot of cool things happening over at EPCOT. Included in that are 4 festivals every single year that they do, starting at the beginning of the year with the Fine Art Festival, which is where they sell tons of art to all of the park goers. And you get a chance to see all this cool Disney art throughout the entire EPCOT park, which is awesome. That's my second favorite festival, and arguably could be tied with this one just because they have great food there as well. But then you have the Flower and Garden Festival, which we talked about last week. Today, we're covering the Food and Wine Festival. And then next week, we're going to wrap it up with the Holiday Festival. And what's really cool about these festivals over at EPCOT is they are playing on your senses. Meaning the art festival is very visual. There's a lot of visual elements to behold. And don't get me wrong, you have taste, you have all those other things as well, but it's a very visual-centric festival. Flower and Garden Festival, obviously also visual, but very keen to the sense of smell, especially with all the different flowers and the different plants throughout the park. And then Food and Wine, of course, is going to be your sense of taste. And then the Holiday Festival is your sense of sound, which is really cool at EPCOT because they're all about science and technology, and it's just an awesome park. So I absolutely love it. Now, these festivals do run most of the year. There are a couple shorter ones, which are the Holiday and the Fine Arts Festival. The Holiday only runs from mid-November through the end of the year. Fine Arts starts the second week of January and runs to the end of February. And then right after that, the Flower and Garden Festival picks up and runs through the end of June. And then starting around 4th of July, the Food and Wine Festival begins, and that takes us all the way back to the Holiday Festival. Now, between each festival, just so you know, I do want to encourage you to take a look at the calendars before you plan your trip to Orlando, because between the festivals, there's usually about a 7 to 10 day blank where there is no festivals going on, and that changes your park experience significantly. And what I mean by that is none of the food pavilions are up and open throughout the park, so you're going to be subject to your normal quick service restaurants or the restaurants in each of the lands. And you're going to miss out on about half of the food that's available typically during a festival time when you go to the park during those downtimes. In fact, the longest downtime is almost 2 weeks, and that's from New Year's till about mid-January before the Fine Arts Festival kicks off. And we went there this year during that time period, and it was a totally different experience. So I want to encourage you, if you're going to Orlando, you want to check out what festival is going to be going on, and you want to make sure you hit the right days with the festival, especially if your trip's going to border over a time where it's switching over. So check that out before you go. Now, a lot of people also like to ask about the crowd levels at the festivals, and because they're all year, they're going to be the same for the most part. Now, there are some exceptions to this rule, and that's going to be right when a festival starts or right when it's wrapping up. Because right when it starts, you get all your bloggers and vloggers that go out there and they like to take all their pictures of all the new food for the year. And so that's going to make it a little bit more busy. And then right at the end of the festival, all of your locals are trying to get there before it goes away just because they love it so much as well. So do keep that in mind. But at the end of the day, because of the reservation system, it's not going to be that different than it would be during any other time. So I wouldn't let the crowd levels deter you. Now, when you go during a festival, you're going to have access to these passports. And these passports are really cool because they map out what opportunities you have to eat different foods from around the world as you go through the park. They also have some other helpful information for the festival that you can check out in there, but they really give you a good guide as to what foods are out there because a lot of people like to go for the foods, especially during the food and wine tour. Now, with this passport, you're going to get these stamps or stickers depending on what the special food item is for that time period. Like this last year when we went during food and wine, it was cheese. And so all the different stands had a different type of cheese element. So whether it was a fondue or whether it was a queso or an enchilada. And so you were able to go pick out these different cheese dishes and get your little stamp or sticker that would go in your passport. And just like a real passport, they'll stamp it for you and get you that information. And that's a fun little game that you can do as you go through the park. Now, in addition to that, especially if you have kids, they do offer scavenger hunts during each of the festivals. And it changes up each and every time. And that costs about $10 to do, but you can check that out online. And then you can get that scavenger hunt and go through the park and identify all those items. And then you get a little prize at the end of the day if you do that. So that's also something that is present at every single festival. But outside of that, everything at the festivals are going to be totally unique and different. And we're going to go through specifically what's different at the Food and Wine Festival today. Now, when I say that they're different, what I want you to think about is if you've ever been to Disney during Halloween or during Christmas, that they completely redecorate the parks with all the different pumpkins and all the different scary elements, which aren't that scary at Disney compared to Universal, or they do the holiday things with all the trees and the ornaments everywhere and the garland and stuff. This is very similar at EPCOT with the different festivals that they have all year. So when it's the art festival, they've got chalk drawings that are happening out on the concrete. They've got obviously all the pavilions with all the art. During Flower and Garden, you've got different topiaries throughout all the park. During Food and Wine, you've got more food stations than normal, but there's food throughout the park. And then during Holiday, they do storytelling in each of the lands and a lot of cool, fun things like that we'll talk about next week. So each one is totally unique. So it's a really good chance to go see EPCOT in its own light for each of the festivals and really get a piece of what Disney's trying to do there. Now, we've been to the different festivals and we absolutely love them. We have not had one that we've not enjoyed at all. So I can tell you that all four are great. Just know that you're going to get a little bit of a different experience every time you go if you go during a different festival. And the Food and Wine one is a really fun one just because of all the different food elements. So like I said at the beginning, the Food and Wine Festival is by far the most popular festival all year. This one runs the longest from, like I said, the beginning of July through the first part of November. It is usually pretty packed at the Food and Wine Festival, and you're going to see more people blog and vlog about the Food and Wine Festival than any of the other three. And that's because they do so well with these chef-inspired dishes throughout the park and the different drinks throughout the park. Now, go way back in time with Disney, and back in the day, you weren't able to buy alcohol at the Disney parks with the exception of EPCOT having a couple different places specifically in their sit-down restaurants, like with Paris or Italy with the different wines. Fast forward to today, now you can. So there's alcohol throughout all the different parks. There's different opportunity to buy those different drinks. And especially during the Food and Wine Festival, you're going to have a lot of great opportunities to try different drinks from around the world and really enjoy those, which we've absolutely loved doing and trying different things. So this one's a ton of fun. Now, if you've not been to EPCOT before, it has great food to begin with, but this is when they really kick it up a notch. Like I just said a moment ago, you have chef-inspired dishes, and Disney employs a handful of really strong artisan chefs that are going to put together specific dishes each year for the Food and Wine Festival that are going to be able to be recreated en masse that they can sell to large quantities of people that are going to be very good. And when you go through the Food and Wine Festival, most of the stands that you're going to go to have very small sample sizes. So you're going to get that little paper tray. It's going to have probably 3 or 4 bites worth of food in there. And you're going to be able to make your way through the park eating all the different foods from all the different lands throughout your entire day. Now, we absolutely love to share. I will encourage you, because there is so much food to consume during the Food and Wine Festival, you absolutely 100% want to share. And don't get me wrong, if there's something that you absolutely love and it was phenomenal, I encourage you to take out your passport, circle it, come back to it later in the day if you still have room. But I'm guessing by the end of the day, you're going to be like us and you're going to be stuffed to the rafters. Now, the other tip that I have for you is when you're going through the different lands of EPCOT for the Food and Wine Festival, stop at each stand, take a look at what's there. And if there's something that sounds unique, something that sounds different, I definitely want you to try it. We tried all kinds of different foods. If you just listen to the last couple episodes, I talked about we tried wild boar. We tried duck on our last trip, which my daughter had never had duck before, and that was really good. We've tried all different kinds of food from around the world, and we've loved almost all of it. And I will say that there's a handful of things that we've eaten that we thought it was okay, but it's not something I would ever buy again, and it's not really my taste. And in fact, there's been multiple times that we have tried different drinks from around the world. And when we buy the drink, we think, yeah, it's okay. It's decent, but I don't love it, which is why it's great to go in a group, obviously with a group of friends or family, and you can try it. And if you don't love it, let everyone sample it. Let everyone try that different drink. Maybe somebody in your group really loves it and says it's the best drink they've ever had. I've had that personally happen to me where I tried a drink and it was the absolute best drink I've ever had at EPCOT. And we'll talk about that here in a few minutes. But you may want to let other people in your party try it. They may absolutely love it. And it's always great to share and to try new things and to really broaden your horizons a little bit when you're at EPCOT, which is the whole purpose of the World Showcase. So we definitely want to encourage you to do that. Now, with the Food and Wine Festival, you also have culinary demonstrations throughout the park with those professional chefs. So we encourage you to check those out. Those are a lot of fun, especially if you're a person who likes to cook at home and you want to learn some new tips or techniques or how they're making their dishes. So those are really cool examples throughout the park. They're like the cooking shows that you may get on the Food Network or something like that, but it's a lot of fun. They also, in each festival, we've talked about this in the other episodes, they have some kind of concert series that happens over at the American Gardens Theater, which is back in colonial America on the backside of the World Showcase. And in this one, they've got Eat to Beat, which is a more modern concert series that's featuring artists from the 90s, 2000s, and today. And they bring them throughout the Food and Wine Festival, which is really cool because obviously this is a longer festival. So to have so many different artists come through the park is amazing, and it's a lot of fun. And there's a lot of places you can go check out who's coming for different nights and different events. But that's going to be the Eat to Beat concert series that happens during the Food and Wine Festival every single year. They also have interactive experiences like cooking classes or beverage seminars. I've always wanted to go to a beverage seminar. I like different types of alcohol and I like different types of drinks. And that doesn't mean that I'm this heavy drinker, because I'm not. I just can tell you personally, I don't enjoy beer. I don't enjoy bottled drinks or anything that are malty. So I like to try different mixed drinks just because it gives me a chance to try something new. I do personally like vodka or rum or those types of alcoholic beverages. And so anytime that I can find a beverage seminar that's going to help me expand my horizons and maybe I'll try a new mule, that's something that I definitely want to do. So those are a really cool experience when you're at the Food and Wine Festival. Now, back to food in general at EPCOT is really good. We absolutely love all the food there, regardless of the festival that you're going to. But when you think about things like during the Flower and Garden Show, you're going to have a little bit more sweet with a lot of honey, a lot of earth tones there. During the Holiday Festival, you're going to have a lot of cookies and cakes for the end of the year. The Food and Wine Festival is a great mix of both savory and sweet throughout the park all day long at every single station. And in fact, when you go to every station, they have different options that are both savory and sweet. So it's a really diverse type of food environment that happens there at EPCOT. So we definitely want to encourage you to check it out. And like I said, it's a little more elite than some of the other festivals because of all the chef-inspired dishes. We, in fact, had our best dish that we've ever had at EPCOT during the Food and Wine Festival a couple of years ago, and that was in colonial America, and they had a lobster roll. And if you've heard me talk on my other episodes that we absolutely love lobster rolls, and we are very specific to liking Connecticut style, which are the hot butter style lobster rolls. And this one is a Connecticut style. It was phenomenal. It was jam-packed with tons of lobster. It wasn't very big, so we did share it just because we wanted to keep eating our way through the park. But I can tell you, I would have gone back and ordered multiple of those just because of how great they were. And we're very hopeful that those come back this year because they do rotate food. So know that every single year, it's not going to be the same. In that same spot in Colonial America this last year, they had a crab cake slider that was really good. And we did enjoy that one as well, but we just love that lobster roll. So we're hoping that comes back. Now, I'm going to give you guys a special additional tip today. And that is, this only happens during the Food and Wine Festival, but you need to go back into Canada. And I mean back into Canada. So whether you go up the stairs by the shops and go down the backside of the stairs there, or you wrap your way through the gardens at the beginning of Canada, you're going to be back in the Appleseed Orchard. And during the Food and Wine Festival, they actually open this up into a restaurant and a craft brewery where they make tons of different apple products. Now, I absolutely love apple. It's not my wife's favorite, but we did make a stop there this last time, and I had the best drink I've ever had at a Disney park in my entire life, and it's called the Apple Blossom Sky, and this thing was phenomenal. It was a really strong apple flavor with some apple bourbon. It has the little tiny toasted marshmallows in there, and it was just a great, great drink. In fact, when I started drinking it, I let my friends sample it, and they all went and bought themselves individual ones, and we all just enjoyed it and thought it was great. They also had a frozen apple pie slushie, which my daughter got. She really liked that. They had an apple crumble, like little tart cake thing in there. That one was really good as well. Don't get me wrong, it was a lot of apple, and we did fill up quite a bit in Canada, which is the first land if you go counterclockwise. So that was a little bit of a regrettable error, but I can tell you in the future, I will go back and look for the Apple Blossom Sky every single time that I go back to Canada going forward. It was amazing. As you work your way through the world, of course, there's so many different food elements out there. I encourage you to try them all. We tried different drinks throughout every single land, and we found a lot of different ones that we liked. And then again, keep in mind, when we went during the Food and Wine Festival, we had a larger group with us. There were 11 of us, and so we were able to share between 6 different adults each alcoholic beverage that we got. And that way, everybody had a chance to sip it a little bit, try it, see if it was something they liked. Usually one person really liked it a lot, and that was usually the person who got a chance to finish it. But between 6 people with all those different lands, it came out to about 2 drinks per person when we made our way through the entire thing, which isn't bad. And again, not a lot of alcohol consumption, but we did get to try a whole bunch of different drinks throughout the day, which was really cool. So I do want to encourage you guys to do that, and especially go hit up Canada for that Apple Blossom Sky. That thing was phenomenal. Now, with that leads me to the I Can Do This All Day tip of the day. And specific to the EPCOT Food and Wine Festival, I'm going to tell you our tip of the day is you do not need dining reservations. And when you think about the Disney parks, a lot of parents, especially if they have kids, are looking for those dining reservations because they want to do the character meet and greets. They want to try all the different foods or the different cool restaurants. And don't get me wrong, at EPCOT, you do have Space 220. That's a really cool restaurant just for the atmosphere and the ambiance up there. But across the EPCOT park, if you're looking for the best foods, you're going to find it during the Food and Wine Festival at all the different kiosks and all the different booths throughout the park. So I encourage you, just go and stop at each booth, try a different piece of food from a different land. And there's not just food around the World Showcase. You have food over by Test Track and Mission Space. There's some booths over there. And then you've got food, obviously, within some of the other elements there where all the rides are. But there's food throughout this entire park. So go try something different. Go try something new. And know that when you work your way through the World Showcase, if you're trying something in each land, you're going to be full before you finish. So you don't need reservations. So this is the one day that you can skip the reservations. There's so much to eat and drink there. You're going to want to share these little bite-sized meals anyways, just so that you can try so many different things. But go back and get seconds of what you love, like we would the lobster roll or the Apple Blossom Sky. But with that, we wish you a magical week as you're planning your next vacation. Join us next week as we wrap up this series and we talk about the holiday festival, and we will talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.